Hi fans of high quality entertainment. So in this video, I'm going to talk about some recent CDs that I received. And I've only listened to once. One I actually haven't listened to in a while. And also, I'm going to give you my updated feelings on the Beatles in mono. I listened to Sgt. Pepper and Revolver in mono. I always, in the past, I would listen to the, I've got the deluxe box sets, and I would never play the mono. Well, I wouldn't say never. I would kind of listen to a bit of it, but I wasn't that impressed with it. I prefer stereo overall, but I've got, some positive things to say about mono. And in case you don't know, I just released my very first full-length AI album on my Canadian Studmuffin channel.
I know it's hard to believe, but she's just a really good friend. I'm sorry you had to see me caught with my pants down again.
It's using my lyrics, and then like I said, created with AI, but you have some, choices for creating the songs, the genre, the tempo, the mood, the instruments. So it's just fun, and, it's not for everybody, of course, but I thought for AI music, it turned out very well, and I expect it to become a million seller. Thank you. Okay, so I recently got 2 more Gene Clark albums. I've had this, No Other, for probably a couple of years now. It is one of my all-time favorite albums, and this is the deluxe version of it. There's Gene. And, I do like the band he was in the 60s, the Byrds. I'm familiar with some of their songs, but I never ever bought any Byrds albums. So I didn't really know much about Gene Clark, although of course I heard about him until I heard No Other. And I'm just so impressed with his talent. And so my next 2 that I just recently got are his albums White Light and Roadmaster. I listened to all of White Light and about half of Roadmaster because I was tired. And I was thinking that they would at least be good, right? But not as good as No Other. But I was seriously impressed with both of them. White Light was great on the first listen. It's like, wow, this is really good. And then I think I was even more impressed with Roadmaster, but like I said, I've only heard about half of the album. But let me know. So I've got these 3 now. Let me know what's the next Gene Clark solo album that you would recommend. And my Donovan albums that I've ordered are very, very slowly starting to come in. I finally received 1. So I've got 3 Donovan albums now. So Sunshine Superman and Mellow Yellow, which I've told my viewers, and there's always some new viewers, but I have played both of There's a problem with this friggin' CD. Sorry for swearing. It fell out again. By the way, I did drop this the other day, and it was kind of marked up a bit, but it plays fine, thankfully. So yeah, I love both of these albums. I played them probably 20 times each, at least. And so I finally got the Hurdy-Gurdy Man, which I'd never heard, except for the title track. And I've only played it once. I was kind of disappointed in this version of it. It's kind of, just thrown together. Here's the back. Here's the CD. The cover is fine, but the back cover, I guess that's not the original back cover. It's similar. It's, I think, a black and white photo of him. But I wish they would just duplicate the albums when they come on CD. Then, of course, this. So, but it sounds great. And I will say, I've only listened to this once, and I'm not saying I was disappointed, but I didn't connect with the songs like I did with the first two albums. But this is only a first listen, so I know that, I'm going to end up probably loving it. But you never know. And, yeah. So first listen, I liked it. But I'm thinking on further listens I'll connect with all of the songs more. And I did have the band Patto. I had the box set with their 3 albums, and I think there's bonus material too. But I never really played it that much except for the first album, which I really loved. And so I had sold that box set like 3 years ago. But I got their debut album, simply called Patto. And of course, I did interview their drummer, John Halsey. I always mispronounce his last name, Halsey. And of course, he was the drummer in the Ruddles. So check out that interview I did with him on my Canadian Studmuffin channel. I haven't played this yet, but I know the album very well. And this is very nicely packaged, unlike the Donovan album. There's John there. Of course, the CD is hard to get to, and it's a pretty tight fit. Not the most appealing album cover, though. But if you like great rock, blues, with incredible guitar work, check this out. So, like I've said, listening to those 2 Donovan albums, Mellow Yellow and Sunshine Superman, I kind of noticed at first that they were in mono. I'm not a fan of mono, but after the first song, I was just so into the music, his great vocals, the songs, that it didn't bother me that it was in mono, and I didn't even think about it. And so that made me, curious about listening to more albums in mono. I had heard, of course, these in mono before, but I think one of the issues I had with it was I would hear the stereo mix first, and then I would start to play one of these monos, and it was like, ugh, I really prefer the stereo. But what I did was I played these 2 that are in mono first, and then I played these right after, and I really enjoyed them. And I also noticed there's some subtle differences in some of the songs, even some of the vocals, especially on Got to Get You Into My Life. It's like some of the vocals are not on the stereo mix of it. But these were great. They have a great punch to them, and all of the music is here instead of here. And it's just kind of getting used to it with headphones. But I really, overall, I think I prefer the stereo. But the mono is interesting. And I also listened to Paul McCartney's Ram album. I've got the deluxe box set, which comes with the official mono version of it. And that's, there's subtle differences in that too. And I really enjoyed that. So I have a new appreciation for mono. And yeah, just one other thing about the hurdy-gurdy man. It doesn't say stereo, but it kind of sounds like it's in mono. But there's a couple of songs where at some point it's like it expands into full stereo, and it's really cool. But maybe somebody can, maybe this isn't stereo and I just didn't notice. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing this more. And everything else. And listening to my fantastic AI album. So that is it. Thank you for all of the comments. I always appreciate all of the comments. And please remember to like the video. Make sure you're subscribed to both of my channels. And thank you for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye.